afternoon.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, too. Thank you for the invitation.
Now, the first predecessor of energy islands was constructed in Denmark, Vattenfall's 605 megawatt project Kriegers Flak, commissioned in 2021. And it's more than just an offshore wind farm. Tell us more.
Indeed. Thank you for the question. And yes, you're right. This is the first step of what is called the energy island. And I just put some context around this project, the Kriegers Flak, which is, as you said, 605 megawatt. This is the project in green. Here, the two parts, because it's split in two parts, one of 400 and one 200. The one of 400 is the part that is this special thing that we would like to talk about, which is the first concept of combined grid solution, where we are connecting two countries via wind farm. This part of the wind farm, of the 400 megawatt part, is connected to the German part that is called Baltic 2. It's a wind farm of around 300 megawatt. And this is the first time where two wind farms from two different countries are connected in order to be able to exchange electricity from one or the other direction, depending on the needs. So what I would like to say about this project is that it's been partly funded by the Danish government, but also by the EU as exactly the first of the kind in grid combination solution. So this is the birth of what is an energy hub, because you connect two wind farms and two countries.
Okay. And it's just the beginning, as I understand. Denmark is now planning to construct proper energy islands, right?
Indeed. It was an inspiration for further discussions on how to develop the concept of energy islands. There was a discussion on how to get to increase significantly the amount of installed capacity in Denmark. And one of the project that was meant to be at the time, there was discussion between the three TSOs, 50 Hertz, the German, TNET, the Dutch one, and Energinet, the Danish one, on building an energy island on the North Sea. And some years ago, it seemed to be a crazy idea. And now, some years later, we realized that it's part of the Danish energy agreement, and it will be commissioned at some point in the coming years. The conditions and the terms are under discussion. We are right now in the negotiation. There are two different consortia that are interested. One is the Danish CIP and the other one Ørsted. And we would like to have some more competition on this island because it will be a block built on the North Sea. On the other hand, there is a project called Bornholm. It's a fixed island, and this island is some kilometers away from the coast of Denmark, and that would be the first concept of real energy island, though with an island that exists, so we don't need to build an island. And then it will be the first time that we will connect that much energy to an island. It's an island of around 40,000 inhabitants. And the idea is to bring green electricity to the entire island, ensure that this electricity could also be converted to any power to X, could be hydrogen or any other kind of hydrogen derivatives. The other part of this energy island concept is, as I just mentioned, on the North Sea, and that would be two different capacity. It was mentioned from the energy agreement in 2020. Denmark has a tradition of settling targets in energy agreements. And in 2020, it was an agreement that Denmark should install at least 2 gigawatts around Bornholm and 3 on the North Sea. Later on, last year, during discussion on what is called the Marienborg Declaration around the Baltic, they agreed on building up the Baltic, and they said that it would be 3 gigawatts. The 3 gigawatts are now the target for the Bornholm one.
And what about the timeline? Do we know when these energy islands could be powered up or constructed?
Yes, we do now. We do now because not long time ago, on the 30th of May, there was a new broad agreement. We call that broad agreement because this is represented that most of the parties presented at the government, they decided to agree on building up and accelerating the installed capacity of offshore wind in Denmark. And they settled the 3 gigawatts in the island of Bornholm and the capacity around the Danish waters, not with the islands, but around the Danish waters of 6 gigawatts. That would say that they would build out 9 gigawatts before the end of 2030. These are part of this agreement, which is a new one, and it would be settled in, I guess, a new energy agreement with a broader perspective with other energy types. But it will surely show the way to the next generation of green power in Denmark, because it will provide way more energy than what is consumed in Denmark. And I can say that it's a new model that Denmark will use for the tendering procedures. It's an ongoing discussion. This is only an announcement for the government. Now we need to realize these objectives, and we need to figure out how the regulatory framework will be settled in order to ensure that these islands and this project will be built. Among the new things, they talk about having a share of the state on the built wind farm from the west coast. So these 6 gigawatts, not the one from the energy island. But there are discussions on having a share bonus from the states, around 20%, as well as potentially some lease payment. So this would be into negotiation with the industry and the government, because this is also a tradition in Denmark to discuss one or the other. And if I can come back on this artificial island that would be made of concrete, most likely, concrete blocks settled down in the water around 100 kilometers away from the coast. The reason why it takes long to realize this project is that it's a large infrastructure project. You don't have that many constructors that are able to build these islands, and also because it's considered as a critical infrastructure, meaning that it cannot be only owned by private entities. So there would be a share split between the government and the private owners of 50.5% or 50.1%, but the majority from the states, because it's again, critical infrastructure, and it's not permitted in the laws in Denmark to let private owners being alone owners of the structures. So I hope that it brings some of your questions on the energy islands, and
that actually answered almost all of them. I was just wondering if there were if there was any opposition to such projects, or is it really limited because it's not that large in size?
There are discussions. Opposition, no, because it's far from the coast to start with, and also because Danes like the green energy, and they are usually rather open and really interested in having green energy, and they are proud of that. It's part of the DNA to have wind. Wind energy has been in the country since the beginning of the 70s. So it's DNA of the Danes, and the acceptability is getting easier when you are more away from shore. And these islands are rather far away from the shore. I mean, as I said, the one in the North Sea is 100 kilometers away. So you may not see the island from the coast unless you have special eyes.
Very good eyes, yeah.
Very good eyes, exactly. And the one on Bornholm, it will be, of course, visible because the wind farm will not be that far from the coast. But it has also the advantage of bringing 100% green energy to the island, which is also the good side of the coin. So globally, the acceptability of the island is good, as long as the business case is also good for the consumers.
Absolutely. And Fanny is drawing live what you've been saying on stage.
Wow, that's cool.
Isn't it? It's very cool.
But yeah, it's right. No, made of concrete, not these ones, but the one on the west coast, yes, it will be pure concrete.
You can also see it there.
Oh, yes, thank you. But otherwise, yeah, you're right. This is the build and the beginning with the Kriegers Flag. And we think that there will be a lot of this kind of island, also in Belgium. I know that Belgium is also planning the same.
Yeah, we'll hear more about that in the next panel. We'll hear more about that in the next panel.
That's perfect. Then it's the right setup.
Great.
Thank you, then.
Well, thank you, Benoit Bizet, from the Danish embassy, right?
Yes. I also make the error sometimes, so don't worry. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for listening.
Yeah.